So we are live anyway.
So you're live now?
We are live.
Oh.
So this is obviously the first time I've done this, and like Lloyd's probably sat going, what the fuck's all these wires? And he's like fucking unplugging all my
There's
shit.
There's a lot of technology in here. There's not normally this amount of technology.
So obviously this is episode 1, season 2 of the Let's Talk Motorcycle podcast, and I've been able to drag you into the first episode, which has been it's been an honour. I mean, there's going to be some really cool footage. Lloyd's actually taken the time to show us as to why he uses certain materials for making, like, we've filmed some bracket being made for this really cool shovel that I'm looking at that you guys can't see because the camera's sat behind it, but you're going to see some footage, and Lloyd goes to the effort of explaining as to why he's using certain materials, why he's put the bracket on a certain part of the frame. And obviously a lot of you guys that are watching will know all this stuff anyway, but like you're gonna get to watch a cool bit of footage. I'm smiling because I'm looking at all this crazy shit in here, and it is fucking awesome. So I'm gonna start waffling on. Lloyd, let's hear a bit about you, mate. Like, first of all, thank you very much for coming on, and
thank you for coming over.
And so I know we said earlier, we're not going to try not to go down the whole, but where did it all start? Like just a brief cover, and then we'll get on to more.
Yeah. I mean, I'm conscious not to regurgitate the same stuff that I've maybe previously said on other things. I was lucky enough to grow up I grew up in a family where, you know, my dad, my granddad, motorcycles was a big part of their life. So growing up, you know, I was party to it. It was a thing. You know, bikes were always something. My dad was big into bikes when he was younger, and then as we was kids, he had stuff. Not necessarily chops. You know, he did. I remember he had this wild. It was a Cowie, huge raked out chop with massive twisted springers, and it's funny because we was on about it not so long back, and I think he has one photo of it somewhere, and he can't seem to find that one photo, which is a shame because I'd like to, you know, obviously I don't have a great memory, so I can't particularly envision a lot of it, so I would like to see it, you know, see a photo of it again, and I'm sure he'll find it at some point. So yeah, he always had bikes, so me and my older brother Adam, we had an interest in them, and we were, you know, those little scroty kids that was around on the fields on the plaggies and shitty, you know, just shit like that. And then as I got a little older, you know, for my teenage years and early 20s, I was into BMX a lot. So then motorbikes wasn't such a they were more fun as a kid for me. And then when I moved, I lived in Newcastle for some years, and then when I moved back from Newcastle back home to Bawtry, I moved in with my mum and my dad, and my dad was always in the garage messing around, and he obviously at this point he's got Harleys and stuff, so he had a Fat Boy there, and I'd mess around with that with him in the garage, and obviously the love for BMX was kind of dwindling off. I wasn't old, I was 24, so not old, but
we're kind of at a stage where you want to travel a bit further afield.
Yeah, just doing something a little different, you know what I mean? And I wanted something that had that same community, that same kind of feeling as BMX did, and I love being on two wheels. So then I gravitated towards the motorbikes. That's where that came in.
And that's crazy, like where you say, like, because now, like, as you know, one of the first things I said to you, like, what you've like been able to do, obviously, also with the boys, with the last week of July, like that whole vibe, like, it literally makes sense. It's very much like you've gone from BMX, just hanging out outside the skate park, riding, you know, doing the jumps and having a bit of fun and filming a little bit, showing some of your tricks.
We did a lot of filming.
You know,
when it's funny this. Obviously, Jason and myself, we did the last week of July, like, let's say, featured film, the Between Valleys and Storms.
Yeah.
Now, that was because back in our BMX days, like every month or two, there was a premiere of a BMX video, and there was such, you know, in our day, there was such a big emphasis on that. There was always BMX videos coming out, and everybody was fucking hyped for them.
Yeah.
Then obviously we got into the motorcycles, and we was like, we kind of wanted to redo that. We kind of wanted to have that same buzz. It
just makes so much sense now.
It does.
It really does.
There's so many BMXs. Maybe some of them still are BMXs that ride chops, but there's obviously a lot of old BMXs like myself and Jason that ride chops.
Yeah.
And we kind of wanted to get the same kind of thing going. Do you know what I mean? We was like, we'll make a film. We had like a premiere where there was obviously, and I remember speaking to some of the old BMXs, like Josh was over there, Josh Bedford, and I remember saying like, this is what we used to do with the BMXs. You know, we'd sit off, we'd have a premiere, a group of friends would make a video, and this is what we'd do. And it would be cool if there was, obviously there's some of it, but a lot of it is high end, but there was a lot of, in our BMX time, there was a lot of small groups that made cool videos.
Absolutely.
And it would be cool if obviously that happened a bit more. I mean, I guess,
but it is. I mean, that's what you guys are doing. You know, I
can't take credit for any.
No,
since that film, I have basically not done anything. Jason does all of it.
But obviously, you know, but that's obviously like, but through being able to do that type of like wanting just to release content around like what you guys love, it's obviously enabled us to come full circle back round to. We're sat in your garage, looking at bikes that you're building. So everything, as long as everything's done for the right reasons, like everything works and helps each other out.
Yeah, I guess that's the reason. Like you don't see so much stuff like that now. Obviously, back when they was doing the BMX videos and stuff, there wasn't Instagram.
Yeah,
you know, this was like the MySpace era. Do you know what I mean? Like, there wasn't all of that stuff. So now. Obviously, people, they don't have the premieres. They don't want to do that because there is Instagram, there's YouTube, there's all these platforms where people can basically just make it and put it online, or they can just continually share what they're doing on a daily basis. So I guess, you know, as good as it is to see that stuff, it's taken away some of the, you know, like, all of like I used to love that. Like in 6 months, you know that you'd heard that somebody was working on a film. And then like you'd be like all of a sudden you knew it was going to come. So like in 6 months' time, this film's going to be released, and you couldn't wait to see that because you'd heard rumors of it, but you hadn't seen snippets of it. You didn't know what was coming. You didn't know what to expect. There was that, I don't know, that excitement for it.
Yeah.
Whereas now you're spoiled.
You are. But I mean, like I remember. So I remember, like, obviously knowing that, like, watching, you know, first of all, so I got to know who you was through Last Week of July. Like, obviously, again, because of the content, but like knowing that there hadn't been a bit of content out for a while, and all of a sudden there's some more, and then obviously that's where like social media is so good in the respect of like you're able to discover some really cool content and obviously taking massive homage from the past, and that's where it's like still in my mind. Like, it makes so much sense with the way you guys have put together what you do with Last Week of July, and obviously it's just so cool that you're doing it on choppers, but through that, obviously, then, you know, following the links through Instagram, and obviously, oh fucking hell, you know, there's. Oh, who's this dude? Oh, fucking hell, look at what he's building.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You are spoiled. Like you there's so much stuff.
Yeah.
On the internet now that you can literally go from, oh, that was cool, then you can click on some other dude, and then you can look at it, and there's so much information on there now that's why I find, and I'm not talking shit on it. I'm just saying it loses that bit of excitement for me. Like, there isn't that build up of like, I'm really looking forward to this coming. Do you know what I mean? Or any of that. It's more like, if I want to see something, there's, you know, I can pick up the phone. And it's pretty much there. You can find stuff.
But you guys have still got that, like, because you're in control of the content coming out on Last Week of July. You're still able to keep that old school vibe. And like, that's what's so magical about it. But it shows how, even though content is so relevant, it's so much of it in today's society. People still, like we were saying earlier on, people are looking for real shit. They don't even know they're looking for it.
That's the difference. I mean, you can smell it, can't you? You know, you can see there's a lot of stuff on the internet, but you can smell that a lot of it's, let's say, shit.
Yeah.
the difference I think with what Jason does with the last week of July it is real. This is our day-to-day life and stuff like that. There's no pretense. He's not making out. He's not going on there and posting videos saying we went and did 1,000 miles every day, because it's not about that. It's just about what we do day to day. And we are fortunate enough to be able to live the life in which we live, which I guess is. I'm grateful for it, but it is nice. But a lot of people romanticize about it, don't they? And they think, as you look in, fucking hell, it must be really nice to be able to just mess around with these and go out with your friends and stuff. And it is. And that's.
But it's all the stuff behind the scene that no one sees.
Yeah, but there isn't. I would say a lot of stuff you see on the internet is staged and forced and made to look one way or another or something like that. Whereas that's not what Jason does with the stuff that he puts on the internet. And it is generally just us out living a good, having a good time and living the lives that we live.
And the same for you. It's like, obviously, we're on the side of your house, and like, obviously anyone can go on your Instagram and can see you've got a family that you're clearly proud of, you're putting pictures up of you doing things with them. And like, this is on the side of your house. So you're literally, I think the challenge is, like we were saying earlier, like you've been able to find it appears to be that you've found a balance between family and obviously getting these bikes built for people that, as well as yourself, but you're doing both, and that's no easy feat. No,
it is a balance. I do try to work hard, and I would definitely say when I first started down the route of, obviously I work on the bikes 4 days a week. When I first started taking it more serious and becoming more customer based on the stuff, I didn't get the balance right at first.
Yeah.
I would be in the garage for 8-10 hours a day. I'd go in the house. I'd then spend the evening on the internet or talking to people, trying to line up more work, and just it became very all-consuming, let's say, and that wasn't good for everybody. Whereas now, I'm fortunate enough to be able to slow it down a little bit. I don't have to haul myself out or anything stupid like that for work. So now, I don't spend a lot of time on an evening on my phone entertaining people.
Yeah.
I don't work evenings anymore. I'd work evenings and weekends. I work weekends, but I don't work evenings. When it gets to say 5 o'clock, I'm done. I'm not sitting in here unless I really have to.
Did you find it? What made you? Because like you said, obviously earlier on, like only like you did that. What made? Was it becoming too much, or was it actually like? So we're not going into personal life, but was it becoming that
both? Like I was tired. Like I work 3 days a week in property, and then I work the other 4 days a week in my garage. So I work 7 days a week. Now, you work 7 days a week, fucking 8-10 hours every day. Sooner or later, that shit starts to catch up with you. You know what I mean? And I was tired a lot, and I wouldn't spend a lot of time with the girls and stuff because I'd got it so much in my head that I've got to make this work. Which, that's a good. It's rather that than fucking sitting on my arse.
No, exactly.
Just not doing it. But for the first couple of years, it was, I was adamant that I had to make it work, which I did. And I don't regret doing that. Because
would you be here now?
Exactly.
In this balance that you've started to find?
No. So it was a necessary evil, let's say, to get the ball rolling. Whereas now, I'm still in here. I still work, in theory, 7 days a week. But like days like today, it's Sunday. Do you know what I mean? I went to the gym this morning at 9 o'clock, got back. I probably didn't get in the garage while 10:30, 11 o'clock today. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. And then I had a few hours doing a few bits. And I didn't achieve a lot today. I fixed an oil tank that somebody had decided to hit with a slitting disc, and it had got.
Oh. Yeah.
So I just put some welding there, blended that in, made the brake mount for that shovel. Not I haven't achieved a lot, but I've still come in and showed up and done some work. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
And that's where I think, like, I mean, I don't know about yourself, but like I found, like, my brain like runs over so much stuff, and I'm like, I'm trying to take on too much, and then I end up got so much that I want to do that I don't do anything, and then I feel worse. Yeah. And really, it probably is like, at least you've done something. Yeah. Like you've done that bracket, you fixed that oil tank, and I think like this podcast, like, surprisingly, is already, it's like, I never thought it was going to go on to about trying to find balance, but yeah, like we said earlier, there's so many people, so many incredible podcasts out there they're going right into the gnarly, gritty stuff about building these cool as fuck choppers, but that they've also got the same things going on like you have, and it's nice that you've been able to go, do you know what, like, I've got a family. I've got to try and find balance, and these choppers are cool as hell, and they are, and but it's still real life outside of that.
And this, like, the reason we all do this is the love, the passion, and we enjoy it. Right? If you start doing it too hard, too much, like anything, you know what I mean? Like, everybody likes having sex. If you had to if I had said to you, you've got to have sex 24/7.
Like, no.
I'm telling you now, within a few months, you fucking get bored of it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
Not just that, them gonads, mate, they can be like, please stop.
It can be the best thing in the fucking world, but if you do it too hard and too much, it doesn't become fun anymore.
No, that's it.
That was something I had to learn with the bikes, is I don't want to take away the enjoyment out of this. And again, fortunate enough, like summer, the boys will come round, you know what I mean? And I'll hear somebody pulling up, and I'll be like, all right, who's this one? Pull the garage door up and I'll see who it is. The next thing, before you know it, there's fucking 4 or 5 of them out front, and they're like, oh, we're going for a ride. And I could be midway through something, and I'm like, all right, then I'll fucking down tools and we'll go out and have a ride. Do you know what I mean? Man. And I'm lucky enough that I can do that.
Yeah.
Now, that's the beauty of the way it works now. Is, I think previous I would have just been like, sorry lads, I can't go. I've got to get this shit done.
Yeah.
And there was some years I was building, I don't know, 6 or 8 bikes a year. Do you know what I mean? And as nice as that was, it takes its toll. Do you know what I mean? And that's obviously all that time that I'm spending in here. I'm not then spending time with my family. I'm not then out. What's the point in fucking building all these bikes if I can't even ride them? Do you know what I mean? So you've got to make a conscious effort to, well, what's the phrase they use? Get out and touch grass?
Yeah. 100%. 100%. So let's take it back to, because obviously, like you just said, you are buying like 6-7 bikes a year. How did that come about?
Well, initially, I would just build the bikes for myself. I'd build a bike, ride it for a little while, sell it. Build a bike, ride it for a little while, sell it. And then when I started to take, I've always done a little bit of stuff to help people, but then it became a bit more where people were asking me to build bikes, and then I was made redundant. I'm going to say 6 or 7 years, 7 years back, I think. I was made redundant, and that's when I made the choice to do this. I have to be careful how I phrase this, to make this work as it does.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So then I decided to do this 4 days a week, and then I would basically, I've had these, I built these bikes, and these were the last ones I built this one for Glenn. But this one was my bike, that I would just have, I went down to one bike, and I would just have that bike and then build bikes for other people. No more building bikes for myself. It would just be for customers. Obviously, I haven't stayed with one bike, but
now
I have no intentions of building, obviously anymore. I have no intentions of building bikes to sell them. I don't want to fucking do selling bikes or any of that stuff. And I'm lucky enough that there's enough people that want bikes building for them. So yeah, I would say 6 or so years back, it all just became customer based. Let's say. I mean, there's a reason my bikes look like absolute shit. And it's because
I thought it was just because I think with a Harley, with anything custom, I think it's either it's shiny as hell or it's ridden.
Yeah.
And I don't think it works in between. And I figured that you'd just gone down that road of the grubbier the better they look.
Yeah, I mean, I've never cleaned those bikes.
No.
The only thing I do is maintain them. I've never changed. I don't think I've changed anything on that bike since I first built it, other than the paint. I've not changed anything on it. It's stayed the same bike as when I first built it. I'm not one of them that are just going to keep changing stuff on it. Yeah. I'm not going to clean it. I'll maintain, like, every few rides I go over every nut and bolt. It doesn't look like it, but the bike.
That's the beauty of it.
Yeah.
That's the beauty of it.
And that's because, I'm not out here building bikes for myself anymore. I'm here building bikes for other people.
Yeah.
So that's just the way it went. And I never had, when I first started doing the customer based stuff, wasn't like, this is all I'm going to do is build motorcycles for people. I had like intention. I thought, maybe I could get into like maybe making a few parts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it is something I often talk about. Maybe I'll get into making a line of springers. I don't know. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Maybe I'll get into making a shitload of seats and stuff like that. I don't know. And this ain't me whinging by, people just keep wanting bikes being built. So I don't get the time to do that. You know what I mean?
And obviously it's a good problem to have.
Exactly that.
It's still a problem. But it's not one. You're not complaining about it.
I ain't complaining.
No,
do you know what I mean?
hell no.
If people want me to build them a bike, I'm more than happy to do that within reason. And it's a great, like I say, it's a great problem to have, is to just be stuck building motorcycles.
Yeah, it is incredible, isn't it? And I mean, so like, what was it like when you had? Because obviously, like you say, you probably started off building stuff for people you knew first, or like you said, what was it? Modifying parts for people, making parts for people. People were buying the bikes you built. But what was it like when you had someone that you didn't know, like, reach out, like at first, like, because it's exciting to kind of. What did it feel like? You know what I mean?
I've had some good and some bad experiences with that. Let's say, I had like a bunch of the guys that you see, obviously, as part of last week of July. They were guys that I didn't know until I built motorcycles for them.
Wow, that's cool.
So there's a couple of guys in there that obviously they reached out and they wanted motorcycles building. I built them a motorcycle, and then we became friends. And then they became part of the last week of July group, and then they joined us on the run and stuff like that. There's some that I built bikes for, and
I was glad to never see you again.
Yes, we'll just say, I
can kind of see you thinking like, how am I going to fucking word this?
You're live, aren't you? So I've got to be fucking careful when I say it.
You're all right, mate. You're all right.
So there's some way it's not gone that way.
Yeah.
But I can usually get. That's happened very little. That's only happened, I would say, once or twice. I can usually get a good feel for somebody once I've had a chat with them and stuff like that. And
because it's such a personal thing.
This is the thing. And there's several people I've just said open, I don't want to build the bike that you're into or the bike, because I can tell, one, they might be a fucking pain in my arse.
Yeah.
Already, you can get that feel from some people from talking to them, can't you? That they're just going to be fucking hard work. Two, they've got an idea of something they want and I'm not on board it. And, I don't get me wrong, there's times when I build stuff that I'm not overly fucking fond of. But I remember there was a guy, he's local, and he had a V-Rod.
Right.
And it's not my thing.
No.
He kept pestering me to try and build. He's going, I want you to build this V-Rod into this. And I was like, mate, it's not my fucking thing. Like, I'm not interested. And he just, like, he must have said it to me about 3 times. And he had his, like, work shirt on, and obviously it was a known company. And he was like, money's not an issue. I want you to. And I was like, mate, it's ain't fucking about money. This is, like, I like building motorcycles. Like, I'll just walk into my garage and look at your bike and like, the fuck am I doing here? Yeah. And I'll hate it. Yeah. I said, so I'll just, what's the point of me fucking doing it? I was like, you can pay me all the money in the world, but if I fucking hate doing it, I'm not doing it.
No, exactly. And that's where people, like, they don't get it because it's like, because everyone assumes that money. I mean, money does talk, but everyone assumes that money gives you something. And it's people are more. I don't know what would you say, attracted to the fact that like, shit, this dude's not budging. Like, this is fucking real. This is real. Man.
If you start saying to me that, like, if you start trying to boast to me and swing your dick about the money that you've got, I already know that I don't want to fucking do any work for you because you're going to be a pain in my fucking ass. So, yeah, I knew straight off the bat that wasn't going to fucking work for me.
Yeah, that's so cool, man. It's like, and I guess like, because it's like, the world's fucked up, man. The world's like so chaotic that people just assume that money gives you
the God-given right to say what you want.
Do you know what I mean? Like, and I honestly, I think that's probably what. Like I'm on a weird journey, like learning, like the fucking universe is like, and I'm not trying to be one of these people, but the universe is kind of trying to tell you shit. All you got to do is listen. Like,
do you want another drink?
No, I'm all right, mate, thank you. But like, people are like attracted to wanting you to build a bike, not just because they're cool as hell. Because at the end of the day, there are some well-respected bike builders out there that are doing similar styles to you. Obviously, they're not maybe not so much many in the UK, but it's the fact that like you can just see it's real. Like we like to say with the last week of July, we like the fact that like I don't give a shit how much money you've got. Like I don't want to build a V-Rod.
No,
simple as that.
It's, like I say, I'm not saying I haven't done stuff.
No,
like
of course.
Particularly, but it's there's times when I have to just bite the bullet and maybe do some things, and that's not necessarily. I'm not saying I fucking built a V-Rod. Do you know what I mean? There's certain times when somebody might, let's just say, for the sake of it, somebody wants to stick some 20-inch over forks in a standard frame. I don't fucking want to do that. I think it's wrong. Yeah, but I will do it if you're adamant that that's what you want to do. Yeah, but I will fucking let you know that I think it's wrong as well. Yeah,
and why? Is it just? I mean, I'm guessing like where people are just backing.
I'm not a big fan of these uphill bikes. They're not for me.
No, like where they're just sticking like extended stanchions in the front end, basically.
Yeah, it's not my.
It's not my thing either.
No, I'm not saying that these people are wrong. If they love that, then I don't.
I think if we all like the same style of bike, it'd be a boring culture to be a part of.
It really would.
And I mean, I'm the same. Like that's what like with my little. I know I talked about loads in the first season, but with my little 125 build I'm doing. I wanted to lower. I don't like the digger vibe, like the old digger. I don't like. Where you're about with the pitch front, slightly pitched back.
Just like say a digger, it would have some rake, but it'd have short forks. They tend to sit fairly straight.
Oh right, I must be getting mixed up. Because that's kind of. I always thought a digger, and this is where it's interesting to kind of get educated on it. Is I thought a digger was where the front of the bottom rails of the frame kicked up.
That's what I mean by an uphill bike.
Right, is that so it's not a digger then?
No, diggers were okay. You remember, have you seen on the like old Arlen Ness? Yeah. The old Arlen Ness. So I could be fucking miles off the mark.
Yeah, we could
when
be.
I talk about diggers, I think of Arlen Ness.
Yeah. Okay.
And he made, for me, they were the ones that I used to look at and stuff. I love like a digger style bike. I've never done one. Right. It's something I'd be fucking open to do.
Right. They are boys. You've heard it. You have heard it. Lloyd's open for it.
I'd love to do something like that. Like, again, it's a lot of the bikes that I tend to do at the moment are very much a similar kind of style because, like everything, there's trends. Yeah. And the current trend is a very much dissimilar tough guy bike, they call it, don't they?
Right, okay.
It's tough. That's a big, so I'm doing a lot of those at the moment, and I kind of like them.
I think they're sick.
I think they're a cool bike. Yeah. I do like them. But it would be nice, if somebody came along and was like, I want a fucking digger. I'd be like, I've never got to do one. I'd fucking love to do that kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? It would be something that I would like to be able to do shit like that. I did put out there, I briefly mentioned it, so I put out there, the 101 build off next year. Yes. And I put out, I was like, if somebody wants a bike doing for that, like I've got some ideas. And a couple of people reached out and they was like, oh, what are you thinking? And then as soon as I told them, they was like, nah.
I mean, I'm smiling because obviously like, I know where you're going with the story and like the fact that like we both somewhat got inspired or kind of saw something in the in the culture we're a part of through sat watching certain things on telly. That's why I'm like, because like some people don't realize like what you can see on a monitor, on a screen, on a telly can just like inspire a style. Obviously, we already know, like, because you've told us, we know that you've grown up around bikes, but obviously you know, you're able to see certain things that kind of shaped this style of bikes that you wanted to build. And I can kind of like, it's exciting because it's like, I feel that everything kind of comes full circle in some way in your life, you know?
If I ever did, let's say, build another bike for myself, it wouldn't be like every other bike that's in here. I'd have to do something.
Yeah, it's got to be different.
It'd have to be slightly different. It'd have to test my skill set. You know what I mean? Otherwise, what's the fucking point? I've got some ideas of some bikes I would like to build. I'll save them for down the line. But I can't even remember what the question was.
I think like kind of like we started off, I think, with where people, what it was like getting when you had the first person reach out to you to wanting to build a bike, like, and obviously we kind of answered it, but I was like, I'm interested to know, like, what did it feel like when you sat there looking at your phone going, shit, like somebody actually like wants to trust me.
It's quite a long period ago. I guess at the time I probably found it quite daunting.
Yeah.
But before I started doing it for people, you know, I knew to an extent what I was doing already. Yeah. You know what I mean? I built several bikes already for myself and helped other people with bikes and stuff like that. So I was fairly confident in my ability. So I would say I probably found it a little bit daunting at first, but I don't know. It's because it was probably such a long time.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's kind of where I feel like it's like almost my mission to kind of like get that fucking shit. Like, wow, yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, I remember first tattoo I ever did was on myself, and then like I remember like first starting to tattoo people, like. It was terrifying. I physically felt sick. Yeah. I mean, I remember even like messing around in the pits working on my friend's supermoto in Spain. Like, I had to change his front tire, and kind of thinking he was taking a bit longer on the next few laps. I'm thinking, oh fuck, did I tighten them bolts? You know, he's doing like 140 kilometers, 150 kilometers an hour down the back straight at Jerez, and I'm like a 15-year-old dude stood in the pits going, shit, like, you know. And that, do you ever? Yeah,
I mean, luckily I'd made a lot of the mistakes on my own.
Absolutely, you cut your teeth
like
before.
When we were talking about size of material for brackets. Now, obviously, my first bikes that I built for myself were learning curves. I didn't obviously know what I was doing at the time. It was all I had to learn and make mistakes. So I learned that making an exhaust bracket out of 2mm stainless wasn't going to fucking cut the mustard. It needed to be something more substantial. Otherwise, there's a chance with the vibration that is going to fucking shear and that's going to snap. So I learned a lot of those mistakes on my own bikes. And I'm not saying that stuff doesn't go wrong, you know, down the line. Very minimal, I like to think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, if they were going wrong, we wouldn't be sat here.
I hope
sat here, and it wouldn't be an incredible selection.
I've not had a witch hunt yet.
Do you know what I mean? Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, you know, there's not a huge amount to these bikes, and if you're competent, it's fairly hard to fuck them up. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not until you start.
Oh, I'm taking your word for it. I've never touched anything like this.
So, like, it's like, so say the long bike, say the great big long bike over there. That was a big learning curve for me. Like, I'd never done a lot of sheet steel work and stuff like that. That's not done the miles to test to know whether that's actually all going to hold.
So you're still like,
that. I'm fairly sure. I might find, I'm confident.
Yeah.
But I might find. Say next year if I get to ride it a fair bit when I put the pan head in it, I might start finding that there's a lot of movement in there and stuff's flexing. I don't know because I've never done anything.
But like you say, that's your bike, just like you said
Well,
earlier.
it wasn't when I built it.
No, but it is now.
It is now.
It is now. And obviously, and like you say, obviously, originally it's clearly built, maybe I'm saying it out of term, but it's clearly built to be a showpiece.
Uh-huh.
It's like kind of was never designed to be hammered. Like initially.
I had every intention of that bike being able to be ridden every day if you wanted it to.
Yeah.
So I could have made stuff, let's say, more aesthetically pleasing and under-engineered it.
Right.
But I didn't.
Yeah.
I still made sure, as best as I think I have,
Yeah.
I've still made sure everything on that bike should be able to withstand being ridden all of the time.
So it wasn't built. It wasn't built initially for you, the frame.
No.
Right.
No,
Okay.
No, it was so it had that knuckle engine in it, and it was all built for North.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah. I don't know where my head's gone with that, and obviously, and to be fair, we did speak about this earlier, but I mean, the point I was being was it's not built. It's built to be ridden, but it's also built as a show bike.
Yes.
So it's like
Yeah.
But like you said, obviously, you're not going to build something that just sits on a trailer that doesn't.
That's. I mean. Like when I built it, I preached and said all these same things. The bike's barely left my fucking garage since it was built.
That's just the way it's fallen, though.
Yeah. But I'm hoping to change that.
Yeah.
I'm hoping next year to change that a bit. So we'll see. I might find
it's an incredible bike, though.
It looks incredible.
I just hope
it rides incredible.
Yeah. it looks crazy, and obviously, like. Most of the guys that are probably watching this already know what the bike is and where, what like the awards it's won. I mean, so it won
the 101.
101. Mm-hmm. I think did it also win the early hookup this year? I
don't know if they did awards.
I don't know if I don't know why I'm.
I wasn't there. I wasn't there, so I don't know.
Yeah, North was. You was busy at the beach racing. I saw you the next day, and you were like,
yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
You said earlier like you got heavy that weekend.
Yeah. We'd had we got in a bit of a pickle that weekend.
Yeah, it was. The Saturday was a catastrophe, wasn't it, with the weather?
Yeah. Yeah. So there was nothing else to do other than just to drink.
No, yeah, yeah, and then Sunday was great.
Yeah, it was nice Sunday. Yeah,
it was.
No, we had a good weekend. So Paul was racing that shovel actually. That's there.
Wow.
So that was I bought that shovel off of Paul as a donor bike for this, but he was racing that bike on the beach. And
so with that frame, obviously apart from the back end,
not that frame actually. No,
not the frame.
It turned out so when I pulled the engine, the frame was. I think the frame had a bang and stuff, and it was a bit twisted up and a bit shit. So I decided I'll just keep that for if I ever. I'll just use the engine mount if I ever do a something stupid like the long bike again. So no, it was only the engine and the gearbox really that I've managed to use for that. And my uncle, he's got a Model A. And he was racing that on the beach as well.
Yeah,
so it was nice. We got to see. Obviously, my wife and my daughter were there. They went and stayed with. So my dad was over as well. He was in the. My wife, my aunt, my dad, my daughter, my aunt, and my uncle were all racing the Model A. They were all getting to do some tricks in the Model A.
That's cool.
And then obviously me and the boys went over on the bikes. Paul was racing that, and then we just got to have a ride over and stuff. Yeah, it was a good weekend.
That's cool.
It's nice when you get to have those weekends where you get to mix. Obviously, you get to have with your friends and your family. Yeah, it was nice. Good weekend.
That is cool. So kind of let's get back to the crazy bike. What inspired that?
So I get it because North, he likes really long bikes. So he wanted us to build a really long bike, and I said I'll do it on the provision that I can build what I think a long bike should look like. And that's not a standard frame with they're 36 inch over those forks. There's no fucking way I'm, he wanted long forks. So I was like, I'll build you fucking long forks, but I'm definitely going to put some height and some rake into the bike as well.
Yeah.
So he let me basically do what I wanted to do. He didn't have much of a choice at some point.
Yeah, I do remember him roughly because we did speak about this bike on season one when I interviewed North, and I do recall him saying that it was kind of like Lloyd said, we're doing this.
Yeah.
And that's got to be like that.
Yeah.
And yeah. But obviously, again, like it's such. I mean, I've only ever seen one example of a front end like that. But I mean, maybe I'm just massively unaware of what's going on. And I only ever remember seeing it on Discovery Channel when the Martin brothers did a Springer front end.
I remember that one.
That's the only one I ever saw.
They didn't use it, though.
No, they didn't use it because it came out like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they put it together and they tack welded everything in and everything. It was on the Biker Build Off on Discovery, but they never. That's the only time I've ever seen a curve front.
Yeah, I do remember that now.
You know,
that's It's I'm sorry, I can't remember his name, but the guy who runs Flying Choppers, he has a set of, if I remember right, they're narrow Harley Springers, but he's got some bend in them as well.
Okay.
I really like that.
Nice.
But it was the bent forks was kind of an afterthought.
Right.
So I got some, like plastic PVC tubing. So I got some of that because I'd made the frame, but I didn't know exactly how long the forks needed to be to get the bike to sit straight. So I'd made the frame, I'd got the back wheel in, and I'd sat the bike on a jack, got it sat level, how I wanted it. And then I got some 41mm PVC tubing, some great big lengths of it, to drop through the forks so I could take measurements from them to measure, so I knew what my steel needed to be for fork legs.
Yeah.
And we sat them in it, and we was like, yeah, they look good. And then it was my dad. I just put the front wheel obviously in, dropped the wheel in, so I could take the measurements, and he put the axle behind them and just pushed them forward, so it put some flex into the PVC pull. And he was like, "What do you think to that?" And we was both like,
"Wow,
that looks really fucking cool." And we was like, "Yeah, but how are we going to do that?" I was like, "I don't know, but it'd look fucking cool if we did." And obviously, like I was explaining to you earlier about the trail.
Yeah.
If I'd have just run them straight as well, I think I was in negative trail running them straight as well.
Yeah.
So
you're saying nose diving in.
Yeah. So by putting that curve into it as well, so we figured out the correct amount of bend to give me 5-inch of trail. So it was kind of a no-brainer off them. It was a fucking pain in the ass to make them, but
which obviously we filmed that earlier. So so what inspired them to be what? Did you always know they were going to be literally just hardtail front end, or was it just kind of like limited? Had you decided to do the curve? Obviously, like you say, your dad thought, what do you think to that? Or was you already going to do hardtail?
There was always going to be rigid forks.
There were always going to be rigid forks.
Yeah, it was always going to be rigid forks.
Right.
I remember speaking with Chris Hatton at the time, because he was making some at the same time as well. And he put me on to, it's a chopper handbook. And there's a big read on that. And it's a really interesting read, because obviously I no experience in building rigid forks. I had some idea as to what could be weak points and stuff like that, but I'd never built them. So I was like, well, let's have a good read. And, again, Chris was really good to put me onto this literature to read. And obviously, one of the reasons I'm still using normal like triple twos yokes, because on the bottom side, a lot of people welded them. Now, often when you've seen them snapped, it's on that weld point because you've cut the steel.
Right.
Probably, I'm guessing it's become brittle.
Yeah.
And that's where they cause the snap. So I was like, well, I'll just use normal yokes, and I'll get some steel that'll fit in normal yokes.
Yeah.
Then I'm not putting that stress point on a weld. So then I obviously did the research on the steel and stuff like that. But I did, in fact, they're up here. So initially, I was using these yokes. So these were the ones I was going to use on them. And I spent fucking ages.
I mean, they're a nicer looking yoke.
Yeah, then
possibly from here
they like these, but I spent ages obviously making this and blending all this in to take the headlight and stuff. But then, obviously, it's the 41mm tube, and I'm thinking, if my forks are rigid, where's the next weak point? And it's those, isn't it?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, all that leverage on these, that's got to be the next weakest point for me, is these. And I don't know there's not a lot of
There's
meat.
not a lot of meat there,
There's
is
not
there?
a lot on there. So
No.
I was in my head. I start then get paranoid that am I going to snap these?
And then, well, yeah, snap them or even snap the bolts because effectively it could twist as well.
Yeah.
Like,
So luckily, I got hold of those yolks, and I think they're almost twice. They're almost twice the amount of
just
meat.
sat here. You can
You can see how much beefier they are. So that's why I ended up using those ones, which is a shame because these are nice, but I can use
They do look like. I mean, obviously, again, just looking at them from here, these ones they look a little bit nicer, but. I mean, no one's really looking at the yolks. Let's face it.
Yeah,
like, not with the front end like that.
Yeah,
and then obviously, you've done like where you moulded the tank. It's like I say, obviously, it's like people probably say, "What's the fuck's he step?" Like you got, I'm a very excited. It's fucking awesome. I mean, this garage is so fucking cool. Like, obviously, all you guys that will more likely do follow Lloyd anyway have seen the journey with all these bikes, but like to actually get to see them, like it's. I mean, I'm staring at a shovel. Like, I know some people say, "Oh, right, that's irrelevant," but like, no, let's be right. We're in the UK. Like these engines are older than both of us. Like,
maybe not so much me.
No.
Well, I guess they are, aren't they? Yeah.
What year?
Yeah.
What year's the shovel?
I think that one's a late one. I can't remember the year. I think that's about 81. So yeah, it is actually.
That's what I mean.
Yeah,
do you know?
So yeah, it's a couple of years older.
And this is like exactly what I said. Like we were talking about earlier. Like straight away, you're like, is it older? But then, like me asking you the question, you think about it, it's like you're working on stuff that's older than you.
Yeah, that performs better than I do. So.
But it's so fucking cool. Like it's like I don't know. I love it. And so, did you have to beef up the headstock? Was that your next concern? Like, because the first thing that popped to my head was, will that headstock handle that?
Yeah, I mean, if you look, so
I know you've like
it's hard for you to see.
You blended it all in, and
so that's got. It's got plating. It's got. I think I did it all in 2mm plating. So that's got 2mm plating over it. But underneath there is a massive 10mm gusset that's all welded into that. But then it's obviously all been plated and shaped in. So you've not only got the plating's going to add some stability anyway. But underneath there is a massive, great big. I've got photos of it, and obviously you can't see it here, but there's a great big fuck off 10mm gusset that supports all that headstock as well under there. Because obviously I had to redo it all, so I had to make it. And I knew, I think it's got 50. I think it's 50-degree rake in it, so yes, there is quite a lot of pull in it. So that's why I went overkill with. I think it was 10mm if I remember right, to make sure, and then adding all that extra bracing of that other steel. Yeah. That's just extra gusseting. Anywhere, is it? So it flares out, then it flares back in. And then obviously putting those bends in it helps as well. You're not just running straight angular stuff. If so say you look at the end of a mudguard, rather than it just being flat, if that's rolled, how much more structurally strong is it? Yeah. So it's kind of similar kind of things by doing it. Not only makes it look prettier, but it adds some extra stability in there.
So you find did you find the way you kind of look at things did you have to learn this, or is it just like, do you find a lot of logical thinking goes into?
A bit of both. Initially, bikes didn't come massively natural to me. As I've mentioned previously, like my older brother Adam, he picks up on that shit just like that, takes stuff in. He gets it super easy. It doesn't come that natural to me. I didn't find the stuff massively easy. The more, it's like anything, the more you do it, the easier it becomes, doesn't it? And this is all I've known for, I don't know, the past 15 years, mate. Right. I think something like that. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? This is what I've been doing. So yeah, I would say to start with, it wasn't easy. No. And there was a bit, I remember, say, the first time I did a panhead, I'd never come across I'd done shovels and stuff before, but I didn't know that there was different size shafts on the primary drive. I didn't know you had a long shaft.
I would know.
Obviously, I'd never met. No. I didn't know that the pans had a taper shaft rather than a spline shaft. I didn't know any of that shit. So all of a sudden, it's like, oh, what's this? And that was all a big learning curve. Yeah. But you do one, you know that then. Do you know what I mean?
Do you do your own engine work?
I do for myself.
Yeah.
I don't do them for customers.
No. Because then you ain't taking responsibility.
I prefer the fabricating side of stuff. I don't really do engine stuff. I've rebuilt my engines and stuff.
Yeah.
And I know my way around them, but I'm not. I would much rather customers sent them off to somebody whose job that is.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't expect somebody who builds engines to build somebody a motorcycle.
No.
So somebody who fabricates motorcycles shouldn't be building, unless I was capable of it, which I probably am, but I'm not that guy.
And then that kind of goes back to like what we were talking about earlier, like balance. Like at the end of the day, no doubt the time it takes you to build down the engine, inspect all the casings, order all the bits, and take that whole time of doing that all, it's taken away from that. You've still got a family, you know, and like, so you could probably get. I mean, I'm only just chucking the shit at the wall, you know, like. I guess you could probably build a whole back end on this frame in the time it would take you to inspect a motor correctly. Maybe
it's like anything for me, you know. Like there's people there's people whose job that is. They're the people that you should be paying to do that, not somebody like me I'm not an engine builder.
No.
Pay somebody who builds engines and gearbox to do that correctly for you and get it right. Get some guarantees. Do you know what I mean? That's how it should. I'm not a painter. I'm not going to paint your bike for you because I'm not a painter. Pay somebody whose job that is, somebody who's good at it, somebody who's skilled at it. You know, I'm a big believer in that. That's what you should be doing. You should be paying somebody who's confident and who's skilled in that set. That's their skill set. Pay them to do it.
And also, maybe it was never your intention, but at the end of the day, by having that attitude, it's also enabling other people to eat from the same table.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
it's like maybe that was never your intention because I can see the logical side to why you think like, why am I going to put my name to an engine that's 40 plus years old? We all know they're not cheap. Why am I going to put my name to that? And then all of a sudden, no one cares about the incredibly welded frame, the incredible work you've done. All of a sudden, they're going, oh, Lloyd sold me
a gasket kept leaking.
Do you know what I mean? And it's, hang on a minute, boys. What about the rest of it? And I get, and so
this is a bit
it makes sense.
That knucklehead over there, right? So say I rebuild that, okay? And the guy goes out and he rides it and something catastrophic happens in there. That's a 15 fucking grand engine.
That's crazy.
Do you know what I mean? Like I am not sending a dude out on that bike for it to then shit the bed 6 months down the line and then me have to fucking pay to fix that again. No.
So that's what I mean. Like maybe like logically what you're saying 100% makes sense, but it is also so cool that engine builders out there are going to know that, like, obviously you'll probably have a very small handful of builders that you'll recommend to your customers, but they're able to also eat from the same time. And I think that's incredible.
It's the way it should be.
It's the way it should be.
It's the way everybody should try and help. We're all just trying to keep this thing going and thrive and stuff. We should all be able to help each other out.
Absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to obviously go and be paying other people to build the bikes.
No, that's you. Yeah, that's what you do.
But absolutely, like it, you know, like, so a customer whose bike's in here next that you know, he's just had his engine and gearbox over at Skinny Choppers because I said to him, you know the story. I'm not going to go into the story about his engine and his gearbox, but there was a lot of unknowns in his engine and his gearbox. So I said to him, while you're waiting for your bike to come in, take it over to the guys at Skinny Choppers, get them to go through your engine and gearbox. Luckily, he did take it over to them because it needed some work. But get those guys whose job it is, and that's their skill set, to get that shit good for you. And then I'm not then building a bike around his engine, put it together, we got to fire it up, and his engine shits.
Yeah, exactly. Or he's riding that road and something, like say, locks the back because there's only one brake on most of the bikes you're building, locks the back wheel up, chucks you off, all that work down the bin. And that's obviously, typically that is not as important as him not hurting yourself, but again, equally as he's not replaceable, half them bits aren't replaceable, you know, and especially engine wise, crack a casing.
Well, this is it, and better to fix it while it's not completely fucked than when it is.
Exactly.
It's, you know, everybody has skill sets, and people
should be utilising those skill sets.
That's it. I mean, and that's like what I said to you earlier. Like, I kind of feel that that's kind of like my place in this culture. It's like, I don't build bikes, but I'll cut shit up and have a go. Mm-hmm. I'll inspire other people to do it. But at the end of the day, if you want something building right, you go to Lloyd. You know, if you want to, I'm not going to tell you how to cut a fucking frame up.
Mate, it's the same. It's the same in any trade. Yeah. You know, like if my boiler breaks. Right?
Yeah.
Am I going to go and start hitting my gas fucking line and playing with that?
Exactly. Just because I can build a chopper and weld shit correctly, it doesn't mean...
There's a reason there are plumbers. There's a reason there are electricians. Yeah. There's a reason there are joiners. Now, we can all have a little play. I might make a shelf.
Yeah.
Right? But I sure as shit ain't going to go and build some built-in wardrobe, or I sure as shit ain't going to start cutting away at my fucking gas line.
No, exactly.
Sticking my fingers in my fucking electric box up there. Do you know what I mean? There's a reason you have these people who have a skill set.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that's where I think, like, just knowing where your place is in the culture. And it's not like necessarily, that's where you belong, you stay there, you watch what you say and things like that. But it's, like we said earlier, there's people that pretend that they're all about this world and just trying, oh yeah, I love this culture, but I've got this for sale. Well, you're clearly just trying to make money. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, but that's, like, I think,
you know,
you get those people in every walk of life. Yeah. There's always going to be people that are going to exploit and try and make money, and easy money, from every culture, from every walk of life. But people, they usually get found out, and you can smell that stuff coming, can't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's because at the end of the day, like, keeping this stuff on the road, letting alone building them, is probably no doubt a full-time job.
Yeah. I mean, going back to my bikes, you know, like, I maintain them. But that is the thing with these bikes is you have to have some understanding.
Yeah.
Like a guy that he's got a bike that I built. I didn't build it for him, but he ended up with it in a roundabout way. And I was speaking to him yesterday, and he said, you know, in the winter, like springtime, can I bring the bike over to you? Can I have a day with you? And we service the bike, and you explain to me what I should be doing on a regular basis. Now that's smart.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, he's admitting that obviously his knowledge isn't there. So how do you get it? Go and spend a day with the dude who built the bike, and I'll run through everything with him. I've given him a good idea anyway.
Yeah.
But we can run through everything. You know, like I said, and I'm gonna fucking regret saying this. There's a reason I'm never spending a lot of time at the side of the road on my bikes. And it's because every 2 or 3 rides, I go for almost every visible nut and bolt and make sure they're tightened down.
Yeah.
I check the oil. I check that stuff is working. Right? Again, they don't look like they're well maintained, but they are well maintained bikes.
Yeah.
I'll ride those bikes fucking anywhere.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? I think the only time I've had a good breakdown was on that one was the primary belt snapped. Now that's out of my fucking hands.
Yeah, I mean, that's simple as even a stone getting in there.
There's nothing much I can do about that.
Yeah.
The bikes don't let me down because I keep a check on them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And you hear all the horror stories, people, you know, they are old bikes, but they're very agricultural. There's not a lot to them. If you do the basics and you keep on top of stuff, they'll treat you well. Do you know what I mean? Unless you're just really unlucky and you've got a really shit motor.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But for the most part, they will treat you well. You know, you look in the States, like there's some guys there that are riding the old bikes and they'll just ride them for days on end, won't they? Thousands and thousands and thousands of miles because they know what they're doing. They know how to maintain them and they know how to look after them. You know, there's modern cars that can't do that.
No.
Do you know what I mean? Like my fucking van, I upgraded and bought myself a fairly modern van. For the first year, it was nothing but fucking trouble. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And people go, oh, these old fucking Harleys. That had been a lot more reliable than my fucking modern van has been. I'll tell you that right now.
Crazy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is crazy. Is there you put any modern day bits in them? Like, do you run like
I run more mine on points.
All on points. Which your logo is actually, it is points. It's fucking cool.
It's one of those. Like, I think you get people that are either points guys or electronic
I
ignition
fucking
guys.
hate them, mate.
Um,
I hate them.
But
because I don't know.
That's
It's because I don't know.
exactly.
It.
I can't say I'm completely educated on them. I know what I'm doing with points, and I have a spare set of points and condensers in my bags.
Yeah.
Now, if my ignition goes down, I can fix that. Not a problem.
Yeah.
If my electronic ignition goes down, what the fuck am I going to do?
Shit, you're
And
fucked.
it ain't cheap. You ain't carrying a spare set of fucking electronic ignition around with you, are you?
No, exactly. 100%. 100%.
I'm sure there's pros and cons to them both. But I'm a points guy.
I mean, and to be honest, like obviously you're going to get a bit more of a controllable spark and all that, but on an engine this old, like, does that engine even really want that? Like, does it want a key?
They're not high performance engines, are they?
No.
I mean, both of these two here are pretty hot motors. They're both 90, maybe 90 plus, 93 cubic inch. You've got the SLS sidewinder gears on them and stuff. They're pretty hot motors, but they're still, you put them next to a performance bike. They're fast for an old Harley.
Yeah.
But you put them next to a performance bike, they're not even fucking close. Do you know what I mean?
And the thing is as well, it's like people assume that like Harleys don't get up and go. I mean, I remember when I interviewed Ollie from, Last Week of July,
Yeah.
he says like, you get out with the boys from Last Week of July, like these fucking boys ride.
Yeah.
He says like,
I remember he
mentioned about you, and he's like, well, so you have to be careful what I say. He said, but these fuckers, they get out and go.
Yeah, the bikes will go.
Yeah.
You ain't cornering like these dudes on that stuff. And, once you get to, again, be careful what I say here. Once you get the good speeds, you're fucking vibrating that much that you do it for a little while and it's like, I've had enough of that.
Yeah.
My little brain's going to fucking rattle out here or something.
I mean, even on my 87 ZX10, like I got a speed wobble at a certain, anyway.
Yeah, at a speed.
And I was like, shit, what the fuck's going on here? I'm like, oh my God. And that thing was designed to do that. It's like, all right, it's an old version. It's 1987, but it was like, wow.
Yeah,
like,
but it's a performance bike.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was like, fucking hell, like feeling this. And, but like my old man on it, he's got a 1450. I always say it on the podcast, and I know I get it wrong, but it's Softail 1450. Yeah. And like, he'll drag it, like he's worn edges of his boots away, and like it'll dump it pretty much any performance jack bike on start on a standing start.
The torque on
it's
So I've gone next to people, obviously, on performance bikes, and especially the ping bike. Like I'm a little slow off the mark and stuff because it's got the rocker clutch, and I can stay with people pretty well. You know what I mean? And I've done it. I used to work with a guy, and he was on his Ducati, and we was going to and from a place in work, and I was on the pink bike, and we came around this corner, and I knew what he was doing. He was wanting to fucking show me that he's Ducati, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? And so he fucking goes on, and I was like, I fucking, so I fucking leaves it, and I fucking boots it, and I stay with him to about 60, and then I count maybe a little bit more, and then I roll off, and then he carries on going. Now I know he's probably still in fucking second gear.
Yeah.
I'm nowhere near, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I roll off. I know.
Yeah, you know where the strong point is.
He's going to leave me start then, so I play it cool, do you know what I mean? If I roll off, then I'm not being beat, am I?
No, it's like, look, mate, it's an old engine.
And then he obviously we got back together, and he said to me, he was like, what the fuck was that? And I was like, just because it's pink and it looks like shit doesn't mean it's not going to go.
No.
It'll fucking go.
Yeah, don't. Exactly.
I think they surprise a lot of people.
That's what my dad said. He said, like, he pulled up beside this guy on a modern day 1000cc like street bike, straight bars. It was built like a standard bike. Basically the naked version of the Fireblade. 4 sets of lights through locally where he lives, and like whatever it was. And he said every single set. He said first excuse was, he caught me sleep. I didn't expect the light to go. So next set, he said every single set. He said people just assume that here comes an old granddad. Yeah, and that's like what I like about like
they're sleepers, aren't they?
Do you know what I mean?
You don't expect them. I think a lot of people think they're one of those things that just make a lot of noise and don't do anything. Yeah. Which I guess to some extent they're probably right. But,
you know, they're cool. They are cool.
That's it. No, I think they're cool as hell. And yeah, that's it. And it's like, but like to look at it all and it's still getting used. You know what I mean? So like what, obviously people can't see what we're staring at now, but like what, is this a 4-speed box?
Yes.
And
that's one of the later ones. That's the.
I mean, I wouldn't know what the difference.
Yeah, so you get like the earlier ones are like the ratchet topped out. These I think all of them in here, apart from that one, have got the ratchet style. These have lots of different names. I think people call them a tank top, a cow pie, fucking all sorts of weird rotary top. That's like the later style one. But they're still 4-speed.
Right. Okay.
There's not a lot to them.
So you haven't used any with this cheeky little hidden electric starter in them?
No.
Like
no. It's something I have considered. Is I think if I wasn't gonna hardtail the bike, I probably would maybe leave the primary and the electric start on it like I did on. I think I've done it on North Sevo at the moment. I get a bit of...
Yeah, I saw that when I saw him at beach racing, like he literally just pushed this little lever across and I thought, that is so fucking cool.
The starter solid and stuff.
Just shorts it basically.
I just make a piece of sprung steel that just fucking arcs straight across it. And
that's like proper gangster, isn't it?
Yeah, it was a little cheap thing that I'd seen. And it saves you having like the relay, any switches or any of that shit. You can literally just fucking arc it straight over. I'm sure that somebody would probably tell me how you shouldn't be doing that, but it fucking works.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think that's actually my old man talking now. Yeah, Portugal going, but so my dad. We come back from Faro and we were on a 1400 Intruder, and he had a set of apes on it, single seat. My bike had broken down.
Okay.
And on the way back, so I'm literally sat on with enough like roll mats as my seat.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't a hardtail, but it's still uncomfortable.
It's still not nice.
And he's on a set of apes, and we've gone past 3 of these FZ6, like Yamaha 600s. Well, capable, obviously. Little fairings and tuck behind, and my old man goes past like apes, like, and I'm clinging on back, and I just wave them, and these fuckers are like, "What the fuck?" Yeah. It's like you say, people just don't expect.
No,
don't expect it.
No. You know? It's like I say, they're a bit of they've got that sleeper thing, haven't they?
Yeah.
But then you also get the like the guys on the super bikes that feel like they've got to prove a point. Then, like the amount of times I've been coming into a corner. And some fucking dude on a superbike, boom, straight past you, like on a fucking corner. It scares the fucking life out of you. Like, you can't hear them until they're there coming by you. It scares the fucking life out of you. It always fucking stands you up, and you just think, like, what are you fucking, what are you proving there? Like, you're a fucking dickhead.
And then really, like, when you stand there and look at it, you got knee sliders, right? Haven't seen the floor apart from when you're sucking your mate off in the toilet. Like, you think you're cool, but you're actually a dick.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that I'd probably be the same if I had one. Do you know what I mean? Like, I've had a couple of goes on super bikes and stuff. Paul, he often has one, and I've had a go on a few of his, and I can see the attraction. I can see why people get into it.
For me, it's the whole hunched up.
I don't like the riding position. It hurts my wrists.
Yeah.
I've got a fucking weird back, and I struggle with my lower back, so that position I wouldn't be comfortable in anyway. But I can see the attraction of riding them. But
what though? That's interesting.
The speed is so good.
I reckon you're talking a ton 50, ton 60 to get the same type of shit. Am I alive? Am I dead?
For half the speed.
Off half the speed.
100%.
Do you know what I mean?
But that's the scary factor of them, isn't it? Like, I went out on one of Paul's. I think I don't know if it was an R1. And I remember coming down Doncaster Road here, and I was going past cars. And because I'm that used to, when I get high speeds on these, you feel, you could do 100 mile an hour on one of these, and you think you're doing 300 mile an hour on one of these. Do you know what I mean? It feels like it anyway. And I was going past these cars. I'm thinking, I feel like I'm doing 60 mile an hour. And I look down and I'm not doing 60 mile an hour. And it's just so easy. Do you know what I mean? And you're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
And
I get that attraction, like it's that need for speed shit, isn't it? I do get it.
Yeah.
And I think I would be the same if I had a bike like that. I do understand the attraction to it. I like going fast on these bikes.
Yeah.
So if you had a bike that was comfortable, capable, reliable to do it,
it's just not alive though. It's not connect like mechanic like them. I mean, I've not. First of all, like for you guys that are actually tuning in, like everything in it's hardtail. I mean, I am going to experience a form of hardtail on my 125 at some point. I definitely feel that you've got to experience it at least once. I mean, there's nothing more mechanical than this. Like you're feeling everything.
Oh yeah. I say, about it. And you do feel a lot, and you do feel like you're part because you sat right down in them. Yeah. It has that.
I mean, like this shovel doesn't even have springs. Like
not at the moment.
Are you running?
I was considering it,
right,
but the seat actually sits better without them.
So are you going to allow? Are you going to come up with a way to literally allow the seat to basically flex?
It's just going to flex.
Right. Okay.
If you look at the one on my Jenny.
I never thought. Yeah, I've literally
doesn't have springs. You just use the bit of the flex in the seat in the pan, and that's just that little bit of something. The thing with sprung seats is right. I
don't like the look of them.
I don't like sprung seats. Like obviously the Prawn has sprung seat on it. I don't like sprung seats, and I find you sit too high in them. I like to be sat down.
Yeah, I like. Yeah, even on my 125, I'm real low.
But if I get into a good bump on that, right, the spring starts going, then the spring on the seat starts going.
Oh, so you're like...
So I just fucking buckaroo down. I'm just like, bung, 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 and it takes a little while for that
I was about to ask. I can imagine it takes... Because there's nothing telling it to behave.
It's going through the bike. The bike's doing that motion. You start fucking doing that motion. I prefer... And people often say that, like, you haven't got fucking springs in that seat or anything, but I don't like the feeling of riding sprung seats. I don't think they're as comfortable. I find being sat in the bike, I don't seem to take that bigger constant hit like that. Yeah, I might take a hit, but I don't take that constant bang, bang, bang.
I mean, I can imagine as an actor, right? I mean, obviously, I've got to learn all this, and I know, like, I'm only on a little 125, but like realistically,
you're still going to hit speeds and hit
the plodding speeds are probably probably similar plodding at 50, 60. Obviously, when you're out and about,
you hit a pothole, you're still going to know about.
Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I've got to learn all this stuff. I mean, I can imagine there's a bit of a brace.
You do. If you see a big one, if you see
shit.
I don't know if you can see it from there. But you'll be able to see the foot peg there?
Yeah.
See the bend on that?
Fucking hell, yeah.
That's from hitting potholes and me trying to take some of it out of my spine.
So you're trying to like almost. I'll trying to
put my weight onto my feet. If I all of a sudden think, there's a big pothole there. Yeah. I'll try and take my weight onto my legs.
Right, try to take it out of your ass. Yeah, fucking hell.
That's then me doing it.
So you're.
It's always had a little bend in it, but it went like that while we was down at the hookup this year.
Fucking hell.
Me, Josh, and Chrissy got lost getting back to the campsite, and we ended up down this for probably about half an hour down this stupid little dirt track like you'd never seen. And it got dark, and I hit a pothole there, which pretty much bottomed the whole of the bike out. And as I came out of it, I landed at probably like 45 degrees.
Oh, fuck.
But it obviously sent me off the seat.
Right.
So the whole of my weight was just on that peg.
Yeah.
And I landed like 45 degrees, pretty much almost stopped dead in a fucking bush. Just went, bro.
Oh, shit.
Just landed in a bush. But I'd say it was, what was impressive was I had one of, have you seen those foam mounts, those magnetic ones that James has started doing for the hookup? So I had one of those. It was the first time I'd really properly tried it. And I've got that on my tank with my phone on it. And I landed in this bush, like full 90, bent, all that. And my phone was still on there. And I was like,
win-win.
They work then, don't they?
Yeah, it works.
Absolutely works. Because I just landed in a bush and my phone's still there.
Still there. Fucking hell. Wow. So what it's an interesting one. Because like my ZX10, Speedo don't work. And obviously, none of yours. How is it? I'm interested. How do you gauge speed? Because I gauge it on. I know that 6,000 RPM at a certain speed. Obviously, I have a rev gauge, so it's a little bit easier for me.
Mine is
how do you gauge?
Feel.
Yeah.
Feel and gear. I know in third gear, if I'm just starting to struggle, I'm at 30 mile an hour.
Right.
I know a certain part of when the vibration, especially on this one, when the vibration just starts to come out, so you're feeling that vibration and you just start to get into a sweet spot, I know I'm at 80 mile an hour on that bike.
That's obviously on a runway, because like you wouldn't be doing. Yeah. You're not testing that on the road. On a private road.
I know from certain feeling and certain vibrations where that bike wants.
That's awesome.
I do.
That's awesome.
I haven't done it for years, but I do have a GPS speedo.
Okay.
Which is just a quick, like a USB charging one that you can pull off. It's about this big, that I used to sometimes put on bikes. Especially if they need MOTs. They would go on there, and that you could use.
Obviously, nothing in there needs an MOT.
No.
Fucking lucky bastard.
But yeah, it's all feel.
Yeah.
It's all feel. I remember being out with my dad. We'd taken his bike to be MOT and we was coming back. And he was like, you can gauge your speeds really well when you're going through. Because like I'm going through a 30 zone. I will generally stay at 30 because, I don't want the points. And
no, absolutely. No one does.
So I can sit in speed areas and be fairly close to what should be the limit. Just by feel. Just by the vibrations, by feeling what the engine is doing in that gear. I know if I'm going through a 30 zone, I'll sit in third gear, and I know what that engine wants to feel like to be 30 mile an hour.
Right.
Same at 40. I know if I'll go into 40 and it'll just start to I know I'm doing 40 mile an hour.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it's just, you ride them that long. Yeah. You know what they want, what
and
they
that
feel
pretty
like
much everyone obviously each bike will have its own thing, and man, that's fucking mint. And that's what it's like. It's just pure. That's what I love about it. Like, especially like, it's not hiding anything. Mm-hmm. It's literally. I mean, obviously, like you say, you can have someone that doesn't really know what they're doing with the welds and things, but take that aside, take away the skill set of the fabrication side of it. The bike itself isn't hiding anything. Like when you get on and ride it, it is what it is. Like it's hard mounted. Like when Harley started running rubber mounted, like you got these dudes acting all like fucking this, and it's like, mate, the bike's not shaking for shit. That engine's just sat bouncing away in that frame.
You look at like a stock FL. They are such a beautiful bike at standard. Do you know what I mean? And there's not a lot to them. There's not. Obviously, we're just stripping them back and making them look slightly more chopper, let's say. But the stock FL, there's nothing to it.
No.
They're so basic and so agricultural.
Yeah.
But they are beautiful still.
Nice.
And they'll do, you could, obviously the later FLs and stuff, they had the suspension and you could sit and fucking ride one of those all day long. There was a touring bike.
So, because obviously the frame on the middle tube you had where it slotted into the seat, and that was that? Oh,
the pogo seat. Yeah. So the early ones had the pogo seat. So down underneath, obviously you can't see them on these ones. You can see it on that one over there. You can see the whole down the center tube. So you had like a sprung pogo seat with the big like tractor seat on it.
Do you like? I don't like them.
I see photos of them. There's one over there somewhere, and I see photos of them, and I think in photos they look quite cool. You see somebody sat on them, they look fucking dreadful.
I know.
Like, they're literally sat up on the bike, and it just looks so stupid. I can't even bear to see 2-inch springs.
I know,
somebody
mate.
sat on them, let alone a fucking pogo. But I see photos of them, and I think they look really cool.
It's like because the FXRs have become that's becoming a massive scene.
Yeah.
And obviously, like the performance baggers, and I think it's cool for Harley, and I think it's great that this obviously they're bringing in like this whole, and again I can see it being very related to the BMX vibe because obviously people are wanting to pull wheelies on these things, and I think anything that really wants to keep the culture going, and I think it's great. But I do admire the way they're, because it's become really popular in America where they're cutting the down tube and the headstock, and they're extending it up.
Okay, I don't. It's not something I follow.
Have you not seen any of it? No,
I probably have.
Yeah,
but because it doesn't appeal to me. I'll just keep on fucking scrolling type of thing.
And I think they're I don't know what they're classifying them as, performance FXR, you know, but they're making them real skinny and like real performance based looking. And
I can see the attraction. I can see the attraction. You know, like I appreciate almost anything. Do you know what I mean? That people on two wheels that people want to do, I appreciate it. It might not be my cup of tea, but I appreciate it, and then I can see the attraction to why people would want to do it.
Yeah.
Which, unfortunately, I think when the tables are turned, a lot of those people can't appreciate why we want to do this, especially like the superbike dudes. I don't think they can appreciate
they don't
this kind of.
But they're like, it's like every time I've gone to like, you know, like Squires, like I pull in the car park and it feels like a dick measuring car. Oh, I spent $3,000 on my exhaust system.
I hate
like,
that place.
That's it. And it's like I've recently got to know the guys over at the Monkey Pot, and it's like I said to you earlier, like on paper, like what you're doing like won't make sense. Like in the respect of I'm building award-winning bikes that people are queuing up to get built by me in a garage on the side of my head. It's just like how like the Monkey Pot Cafe, like they have a little. I'll have a one of them ginger ales, please, mate. Yeah, one of them ginger. And it's just like with them, like some of the most magical things happen out of places that just on paper don't make sense. Like, cheers, bud. Like the Monkey Pot, they're a little metal container with a lean-to. And it's just such a cool little bike cafe. Like you go in there and you ain't got to remortgage the house to buy a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Like I think anyone charging over £2 for a cup of tea, they need to be having themselves.
I mean, I'm a hipster, aren't I? So I don't mind paying good money for good coffee.
Coffee's quite. I love my coffee. I love my coffee, but cups of tea,
like Squires. Going back to that. So my brother, he doesn't live there, not too far from there now. But he used to live literally like a mile away from Squires and Sherwood. And when we used to, we'd say, oh, let's go riding. He'd be like, let's meet at Squires. I'd get the Squires. The coffee was shit. The beer was shit. The bikes were shit. And as soon as you got to Squires, everyone just wanted to sit there like on the same
don't talk to each other.
Yeah, just sit on the wall. And I'd be like, should we go for a ride then? No, we're just going to sit here and look at these shit bikes and drink shit coffee. And shit beer. Like, I hate this place.
Yeah.
Like, I hate it. It just did nothing for the Squires. Nothing. There was no stimulation there.
But it's kind of weird because it ended up being the place that you kind of ended up meeting up in anyway.
All the time.
Like
all the time.
I'd say to my mates, "Shall we go to Squires?" And I'd get there and I'm like, "Why the fuck am I at Squires?"
I mean, I'm funny about this shit. Like, you know, like. I was having this conversation with somebody the other day. You know, like how everybody loves the coast.
Yeah.
I fucking hate it.
I mean, I'm not a fan of the UK.
I fucking hate it. You know what I mean? Like, I like a nice coast.
Yeah.
But especially up here, the northern coast. Unless you go up to the north coast, it's beautiful.
So I like Carnaby is close. Like we go to Brid, we don't go to Brid. We go to Carnaby Beach. Like because it's literally just what it's supposed to be. It's a beach with no fucking no shit.
Yeah. So we'll get to some of the boys. Like, should we go for a ride over to Whitby or to the coast or something? I'm like, right. I love the ride there.
Yeah.
Right. But we get there, it's fucking busy.
Yeah.
Right. Everybody wants fish and chips. I fucking hate fish. I'm fucking no interest in that. Right. We struggle to fucking find somewhere to park. It's always fucking jammed with traffic that you're dipping in and out, but you're getting fucking hot. Your bike's getting fucking hot.
And the foot clutch gets hard work.
And then what? You've got a beach. I fucking hate sand. It's fucking windy. I just don't see the attraction to it. I just can't help. I can't get myself into it. Do you know what I mean? Like now, on the flip side, I go up to like the northeast coast and stuff. It still has the same things that I don't fucking like, but it's more picturesque, so I like it a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I don't get that same buzz that people get out of going to the coast.
No, I mean, like, I was very spoilt with my upbringing of the Mediterranean.
Yeah.
So like for me, a smelly, and I know some of the guys that are, you know, some of the guys that listen or whatever, but it's like a smelly English seaside to me. Like it's like. Mm-hmm. It's horrible. It is.
It is. But
horrible.
Do you know the funny?
But you still go.
Mate, so here's the funny thing, right? So Margate, where they do run the 101, I really like it. And do you know why I like it? Because it reminds me of those northern
seaside, rundown fucking towns that we have up here that I fucking hate.
Right.
So then I go down to Margate because it's down south. And because it reminds me of the north, I'm a bit like, oh, I fucking like it here.
It's weird.
Go fucking figure that out.
Yeah, I know. I know.
It's such a bizarre. Have you ever been to Margate?
I probably have. I mean, I'm born in I lived in like Surrey and that as a kid, so I think I have been, but
it's a very bizarre place.
Yeah.
Like it's very bougie and hip.
Places, right.
But then next to it is like a fucking crack den. There's all kind of walks of life there, and it's
everything.
It's quite strange. Like there's just something about it. It has an attraction to it.
I mean, I'd love to go down to the show.
It's a great show. It's a great show.
I definitely recommend it to people.
I've been to each year. Their first year it was in London. I fucking hate London.
And I remember speaking to you. And I've been invited down to the bike shed.
I sounded like a rat musical.
I'm just not going.
No, I can't. I just there's something about London that it's just never appealed to me. I don't like city life though. City life's not the life for me.
Yeah, like my missus is from York, and like every now and again we'll go back to York, and I'm like, this idea of living in York sounds great until I get there again, and I'm like, I can't wait to get out.
Yeah,
it's like
that hustle and bustle. I lived in Newcastle for a period, and I loved my friends. I loved the people. But I hate that city life. Yeah. Nobody, I lived in this nice little block of flats. The only person, every morning I'd be out there having my coffee and my cig, sat on the doorstep and stuff. And everybody would walk by me every morning. Not one person would say hello. The only person that talked to me was a guy that was a tattooist there. And he would come out and he would have a chat when he was having a smoke and stuff. And we got on. But nobody would fucking speak to you. That blows my mind. You know what I mean? Like I said to you earlier, I can stand out here and almost every neighbour will want to come and have a chat.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I love that small town mentality, but there's a sense of community, whereas I'd never really got that in cities.
No, exactly. And I mean, I suppose with the bike side as well, riding through cities. I mean, other people that have never ridden a foot clutch, okay, all right, mine's only 125, but it's still a foot clutch.
Yeah,
it's still stopping and starting in town. Mm-hmm. I mean, I remember having this debate with my dad, and I know he's watching, and I said to him, I know why they call it a suicide shift. Mm-hmm. And he goes, why is that? I said, because you try and pull off on a hill. Mm-hmm. As a matter of fact, maybe you can kind of enlighten a few more people on it. It's difficult.
Yeah.
And it's even harder for you. But even though as soon as you touch the throttle, the front brake's irrelevant anyway, isn't it?
Yeah. Look on the point I have the rocker, and I can almost lock that on the biting point. So I can get it to the biting point. Well, obviously I'm just riding the fucking clutch, but I can get it to the point where it's bitten to hold me, but I'm not moving.
Right.
So that one's not too bad. When you do it on a regular foot clutch, you are literally like.
So what when you say a rocker? What?
Yeah.
What?
You see that?
Yeah.
So see there?
Yeah.
Clutch disengaged.
Yeah.
See there? That's the clutch engaged, and I can take my foot off of it. So I can be sat at a light with my clutch engaged like that,
right,
first gear, and take my foot off the bike.
Oh fucking hell! That's awesome.
It's really cool, but it works the opposite way to what a clutch would work on your car. So you are, obviously on a car, you would lift your foot to set off.
Yeah.
This, you push your foot down to set off. So get that in your fucking.
Oh shit! Wow, yeah, that is a fucking head fuck.
But what I can do when I get on the hill, see just there,
right?
That's my clutch just engaging, and my foot's off.
So is that just due to the fact that it's just tight enough that it holds it?
Yes.
That's almost like an
on a diaphragm.
Right.
So it locks either way, on or off, but I can just get that to the point of engagement.
Right.
So I'm not. That will hold me on a hill.
Right.
Like to an extent.
Yeah.
I'm still having to fettle it a little bit, but not like you would on a regular foot clutch.
Wow. Because I found, I said to my dad, that's why it's suicidal, and I don't know why we ended up in a debate about it, but I'm like, no, seriously, if you're on a hill, you've got your right foot on the floor, you've got your left foot on the clutch, you got your feet, your hands are irrelevant anyway. But as soon as if you don't get the biting point right, because as soon as you twist the throttle, really your front brake, your fingers are coming off the front brake.
I mean, like, ride the clutch.
Yeah.
Or what I sometimes do is I'll put depending on what bike I'm on, I'll put the kicker or the brake pedal against like my leg.
Right.
So I'll have my foot off and I'll have it. I mean, it's comfortable.
Yeah.
But I'll have the weight of the bike resting against my leg.
Yeah.
And that'll just keep you there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It fucking hurts. It digs into your shit. And you're like,
it does. It's better rather than rolling.
I mean, I'm just lucky that I'm on a light little 125 doing it, but like I noticed it really bad going through a city. That's when I noticed, I was like, shit. Now, but like, there's people. I've had people go, "Why have you done that?" I was like, "Look, I don't care who you are, but when you're making a load of racket and people are looking at you, the coolest thing ever is when you're like, rah. It's just that element of like coolness about it.
Yeah, there's something about a hand shift and a foot clutch.
Yeah.
There's something about it. It is a very cool.
It's
cool.
There's no other reason for it.
And when you master it, like especially the regular foot clutch, you can fucking shift. You can think super quick. It's really nice.
Yeah. And like I say, obviously, I'm not making silly speeds on a little 125, but like some of the narrow lanes where I used to live, just outside of York, like they were proper, like you could barely get one car around, but I knew the roads, and some of the boys would follow me, and I'm on this little thing. Obviously, I'm flat out everywhere because it's doing 60 mile an hour downhill, and I'm like, and they couldn't get over the fact that I would come up to a corner, blang, blang, and I'd hang off it with these little apes on, and that's kind of like how I can imagine you boys riding. Yeah. And that people are going, but that's not really for that. And like, how are you? And I'm like, don't assume. Yeah. Because it's like, looks like this. Yeah. I'll fucking hang off.
Yeah. There's times, again, being careful what I say, like we'd make a stop and get some refreshments and then move on to somewhere else, get some refreshments. And then, those last, gradually throughout the day, the riding becomes a little bit more fun. Yeah. And there's times when we've left places and it's just fucking drag ripping it fucking everywhere, and it's fun. It is fun.
And it just escalates.
Yeah.
And it just all of a sudden you just like, right, now we're going. Let's go. Yeah. It's fucking awesome. I got a mate. He's got this tendency of making life-threatening moves on a straight road. Like it literally comes flying up behind the car, anchors on, and he's a big lad, 6 foot odd. You can see the bike. He's that big, you can just see what the bike's doing. Yeah. And he's like barreling up behind something, and then he'll literally fling it out, flat out past his car, and fling it like completely and utterly unnecessary. And I'm like, right, okay. And I'll kind of stick to the side a bit, because my bike's obviously a bit leery. It's making a lot of noise, and it's like, obviously, everyone now doesn't give a fuck, and they'll just take pictures of you and send it into the old bill. So it's like, last thing you want to be doing is going, hello, I'm here, doing stupid shit. Yeah. But we get on some back roads, and I'm like, right, okay, now it's my turn. And before I moved back to the UK, I spent a lot of time on tracks. I'm no Valentino Rossi, I don't claim to be.
No, but you know how to ride a bike.
Exactly right. So I have an understanding. And no doubt there's a lot of other guys that have kicked my ass, but anyway, I'm like, right, come on then, mate. Now it's my go. and obviously, I'm on an 80s, which doesn't handle like his newer bike, and I'm going like, and I just see it slowly disappearing. And I'm like, right, you see now you're making silly moves on a straight road, but let's get some.
That's all I do on these. These are all straight road bikes.
Yeah,
they don't. I mean, I run car tires on all of these on the rear. They're all car tires.
Are they actually car tires?
Yeah, car tires. Yeah, that one's not. Right. That's a Firestone on the back of that one.
Yeah.
My bikes, they're all car tires. They're classic car tires. You look at the edge of the tires.
You've got nothing there.
No.
Like,
so
how do you go around the corner?
You go around them all right, but you know when you start getting on the edge,
right?
Because it'll start.
It starts to. And no doubt you can. Can you feel between the grooves? Like, as you're right, can you feel it?
I tell you what is weird is, when you say you go buy something, you hit the white lines.
Yeah.
White
radials are bad for it, though, aren't they?
Yeah,
Radials are known for is it tracking they call it?
Yeah. These Speedmasters, I find them really horrible on a white line.
Yeah.
Especially if it's damp. Oh. It seems to just like...
Yeah.
It's not nice.
No.
That's where I've noticed it more. Not so much... But I don't go around corners, obviously. No. I'm not going around corners at silly speeds because I know
the capabilities of them.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. That's it, and it like you know what it's gonna do. It's like even on like say even on the Jap inline 4, you know, mid-80s, like I know that thing doesn't want to stop like a modern day like a modern bike.
Yeah.
You know, like I tried to chase down a brand new BMW one fucking whatever it's called, and I tell you when I realised that there was no point. We come up to this corner, it's downhill, and it backed up on itself, and this dude didn't even move.
Right.
He literally didn't even move, and I thought that isn't even you riding that bike. I die through trying to prove a point on a bike that you're not even riding. You're sat on it as a you're doing that, and it's not for me.
No.
It's like all this quick shifting, like they're sat there and they all think they fucking look cool, and I'm like, mate, you're doing nothing. Like you're just sat there, and I'm like, where's the fuck? Like that's what I love.
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
that's what appeals to the likes of me and you. I guess, you know, they have their place, don't they? I mean, I'm sure they're having a fucking great time riding it.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that's up to them. And you know, I'm not going to say that.
No,
I wouldn't enjoy, because I'm sure I fucking would if I had something like that.
Yeah. I think
my brother Adam,
he's
just got a Ducati. I can never remember the name of it. I call it a moto retard or something. But I can't. You might
motor stride.
That's it. I think that's what it's called, and he loves it. Do you know? Like he's sold his shovel and stuff like that. Not really. He's just kind of fallen out of love a little bit with the Harleys.
Okay.
And he's got this Ducati, and he's had like a massive lease of life in bikes again. Do you know what I mean? Like absolutely love.
That's it. If it works for you.
Yeah. That's the thing. Do you know? Like I get if he gets more of a buzz out of riding that, then he should be riding that.
I mean, do you ride through the winter?
Minimal.
I mean, that's it. Like I was at the bike cafe the other day, and it was like and I stood there and listening to these guys having a chat, and they're on about they're on about Wi-Fi controllers, heat controllers for their clothes,
right.
And I'm like, but I mean, on the other hand, I'm sitting there thinking, what the fuck has the world come to? But then I'm thinking, well, to be fair, they are actually out. Yeah. And I said to him, I was like, I'm off to interview a dude on Sunday, like, and I'm like, he's riding around on like old Harleys, like, and like going off the videos that you guys let us all see on the internet, like you're all in denim. I was like, and that to me is what it's about. Yeah. Like I got told off for riding to work every day in shorts, like, and I have no problem riding in shorts. Yeah. Like let's say you go to Spain and people are riding around in flip flops and shorts and t-shirt. Yeah. Like, and I know it's wrong, but like I think you're not. It doesn't matter. It's not about the speed. It's a feeling like alive. Yeah, you know, and all this clothing that you can't move, and I'm no.
It's one of those, like, you see the dudes in the fucking Power Ranger outfits. Now they're probably going around corners at 150, 160 mile an hour.
Yeah,
I'm not doing that.
No.
Don't get me wrong. If I fall off my bike at 60 mile an hour in my outfit, I'm probably still going to make a fucking good mess of myself.
Yeah,
but I understand their reasoning for maybe wearing that. I don't know if I could bring myself to wear it unless it's like a gimp suit, but I don't think I could bring myself to wear that.
And that's what I mean.
But I understand why.
Yeah, but that's kind of where I don't like I mean, I own a one-piece race suit, right? However, I have photos that back up, and I don't give a fuck. I'm on a little pit bike, right? I had a bit of a go at racing in the pit bike championship. But I have photos, and I put a video up recently taking a piss out of knees, because to me, a knee slider should only ever be on a suit if it's fucking used. Mm-hmm. And realistically, they're generally only really used on the road, on a racetrack. Yeah. Like, so race suits are designed for a purpose. Mm-hmm. But people are getting all off on it, wearing them on the road. Like you're not fucking.
Is that not like a dick swinging thing though? Like if you turn up in this suit. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm assuming there's like certain suits. You know, like dudes who wear normal suits. Yeah. Like there's certain suits that are like, look at my fucking.
Yeah, my bank balance.
Well, I'm trying to think of a fucking fancy suit name, but I don't know any.
Easy. Yeah. I mean, so like road bike wise, like I love MotoGP. I love racing. Mm-hmm. But I love that it's designed for a track. Mm-hmm. Like that's where I feel that a super bike
that
belongs there. Yeah. Like that's where it belongs.
Where you can fully utilize what the bike's
exactly. Like I love the engineering side of it. I love the fact that you're able to hang off the side of a bike, flip up a gear, and you ain't got to touch the clutch, and it's going to give you the right amount of power, and you can actually ride the hell out of that thing. But is it really you riding it? Like, that's why I love like old stuff, because it's like there is no excuse. Like there's no ABS. I've never ridden a bike with ABS ever. Never ridden one.
I'm trying to think if I have.
Exactly.
I don't think I have.
I mean, nothing in here has a front brake, guys.
No, I mean, it's like I was having this conversation with somebody recently, and I was saying there's a reason, like when I go out with all the lads and stuff, I'm always right at the front or right at the very back. And I was like, well, why is that? And I was like,
the place I'm not gonna.
I have a juice brake. I have a rear drum brake on my bikes. I was like, if one of the boys goes on in front of me, I'm going into him.
Yeah, you're fucked. Yeah.
So I'm at the front because I'd rather go into a car or something else than one of the boys. Do you know what I mean? So I tend to be at the front just so I don't want the risk. Like we have had people that, let's say, a little new to it that have come out riding with us from time to time, and like they'll just all of a sudden grab a handful, go on the brake and just jam on, and then we're all like, fuck, almost gone. And you're like, we're like, you can't fucking do that. Like, there's a way to plow into you.
There's a way to ride in a pack, isn't there? Like, and that's obviously like where like massive respect to the MC world. Like, it's not fucking easy. Like, you're riding that close to somebody, and you're making way. You're not plodding around.
They don't mess around. No. They don't fucking.
And that's kind of like what I said. Like, that's what like how it appears to me with you guys. Like, there's that world, but without that world.
There's certain people,
do you know what I mean?
Like, I've ridden with Jason for that long now that me and him can ride along next to each other with our wheels almost touching. And we both know exactly what each other's going to do, because you get used to that much of riding with somebody that you can be that comfortable in that position. There's some people, I'm leaving fucking 5 cars before I go anywhere near them. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
That's it. And they could be even one of your closest friends. But it's like,
but you know it's a bit fucking scary. Yeah. It's risky business.
Yeah, and I mean, that's what I said. Like, my friend I was saying about, like, I've said to him, like, mate, you're making unnecessary moves in a straight line. Like, there's no need. Like, well, I want to get home. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, I'm prepared to have a bit of
fun, but
you know,
and at what cost?
Yeah, and that's kind of it, isn't it? Like, when you've lived that world, like, you've grown up riding bikes for so many years, and you've grown up like with a close knit of people, and like you've lived that shit, you find that you don't feel the need to. You ain't got a point to prove. I don't care. I have no problem saying, look, I don't ride in the winter.
Yeah.
I'm like, I spent all this time okay, it's only a ZX10, but I spent all this time building it. I've got a cool as fuck paint job. What point am I proving riding it in freezing conditions?
It's not so much about that.
Do you know what I mean?
I'll dip here and there, but it won't be far. It's somewhere to go and get a fucking drink or something. But I don't like being cold. I'm nesh as fuck.
I don't like
There's
cold.
a reason I have a fucking radiator.
I know, I remember commenting on your Instagram on that. I was like, that is cool.
I hate being cold. I am nesh. I feel the cold bad. I get bad right finger. Now, being out in the cold and the rain, that's not fun to me.
No.
These bikes are fun.
Yeah.
If I start taking them out and getting really fucking cold and stuff, I don't enjoy it.
No.
So what's the fucking point?
No, exactly.
You know, if I'm not going to enjoy it,
exactly.
What's the fucking point?
I admire the all-weather riders. Like, I'm like, fucking, I take my hat off to you. You know,
the majority of the people that do that though are the people that don't have a fucking choice.
Yeah, that's it. Let's face it. And you ask them, like, you really digging that? You know?
I'm sure at fucking 6 o'clock in the morning when they're going to work, if they had a choice of getting on in the fucking rain on their bike or jumping in their heated seat.
Oh, mate, I love it. Like, literally, I'm the most gormless fucker at R5 in the morning going to work. Like that, coffee.
Exactly.
And I fucking love it. Like,
now, on a summer's day, at 6 o'clock in the fucking morning.
Yeah, no one's about.
I want to jump on my fucking bike and go then because it's nice.
Yeah.
And it's a nice way to wake up.
Yeah, definitely.
Do I want to do it fucking 0 degrees?
No, absolutely not. And that's it. And it's like, and the thing is, like, I don't know about you, but I did a winter on my, again, that's all I was riding every day. I was riding my 125, but I can actually say I did a winter minus 5, 6 or whatever at some point, foot clutch, hand shifter, and having a fucking throttle freeze. Someone is crazy because weeks beforehand, someone went, as that ever, you know, like back in the 70s, 60s or whatever, like one of my friends, like, just turned 60 and he's like, when he was 16, telling me about he remembers his throttles freezing open And it happened to me, and I'm like, that's some sketchy shit. Like, literally, you go to change gear and it's revving its arse off. And you're like,
what are you going to do other than dip the
fuck? You know? And it's like, at least I can say I've done it. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, I've done it. You know, I kind of like how my old man says, yeah, been there, done that.
Again, I think it's just one of those dick swinging things. It's just something people say to try and make out they're holier than thou, but whatever. You know.
Yeah, no, that's
each to their own.
That's it.
I don't have to prove to something.
No, exactly, and it, you know, and it's that's what's so cool. And it's like you've been there, you've done it. You know, you're like you're in here building cool shit, and it's fucking cool as hell. Like, I'm just staring at this like shovel. It's like I want one.
It'll be a cool bike when it's done. It'll be a really cool bike. I'm hoping that the guy who I'm building that one for, he's coming over not in 2 weeks, I think. So I'm hoping I'll have it fairly close to him to be able to have a good look around it, make some final decisions, and then shouldn't be too much longer till I've got that one.
Do you have an average turnaround on a product? Or does it really, I suppose it's depending how long the list is, right?
Yeah, usually 3 to 4 months it'll take me to build a bike.
That's good going, man.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm like 3 years.
That's with me having 2 on. So in those 3 or 4 months, I'll build 2.
That's
generally.
Crazy. Yeah.
But this one's been a little bit longer because, like I say, I initially started on the frame, realized the frame wasn't going to work. So then had to sort of a frame.
Yeah.
And like I say, I have slowed stuff down a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm not in here at 8 o'clock every morning, right up until fucking 6 o'clock in the evening anymore. So I have slowed it down a little bit, and I don't need to rush to just put loads out.
You put, and exactly like you put the time in, like you've earned the right to be in that position. Like people are coming to you not because people are coming to you because you're respected, like because you've got a reputation, you know, of building fucking bikes that do what they're supposed to do. They're safe. They're built like this. I mean, I'm not a welder, but I've looked at enough welds to know like these welds are fucking spot on. Like
yeah, again, like I said, you know, it's one of the things you do it enough, and you don't make progress, and you're not able to do it comfortably, then you shouldn't be fucking doing it, should you? Do you know what I mean? Like I've been, you know, welding and making bikes long enough now. Like I said, I don't have papers or anything like that to say that they are good, but time has served. You know, I've got, you know, there's bikes.
But again, like anyone that knows the basics about, like I said earlier, like talking.
Well, you can see the penetration.
You can see the penetration. You know, that's obviously when I've like we said earlier on. Like my friend told me he was a fabricator. Like, long as you do a V where you're gonna like make sure it's clean, and if you got a bit of blooming around it, a bit of discolorate, like you know, you'll know if the weld's in there.
Yeah, that's it. And then just be careful you're not undercutting it and cutting steel out of it. It's pretty basic. Yeah, it's just becoming competent in doing it. Yeah. And you know, it's one of those things. You have to make them look pretty as well. Yeah, no, because exactly. There are
like you're not hiding around them cast, you know, the rear axle plates. Yeah. You're not hiding that weld, not really. Like,
this is it. Do you know what I mean? Like you can't. They've got to look pretty, but also work. Yeah. Now, you get some people and it'll hold, but it looks like shit. Now, that's not what people want when they're paying good money.
That's me. Bike. It'll hold.
This is it. And, you know, these people are good with grinders. But then I always think, I'm not a massive fan of grinding a lot of weld out. No. But it's a fine line, you know what I mean? You could make them really pretty and probably they're not going to do their job as well then, do you know what I mean?
Right, so you're literally saying that you can literally almost lay a weld on top of something where it's not actually penetrating properly.
So you see down there where that hardtail joins that frame, I'll do a really nice, like, diamond, you know, like a nice dime weld in there. Yeah. And then I'll run over that and I'll do a weave weld over it that doesn't look half as pretty, but I know it's making it more substantial. Yeah. You know.
So you're bulking up the weld.
Yes. Because the tubes are slightly different sizes as well. Yeah. So if I can get some extra filler material in across there, it gives you a little bit more something else to blend into it as well.
Well, they are. What is there a particular reason as to why they are slightly different sizes?
It just seems to be that I think
It's just the way he makes the
The
cars.
originals are maybe 1.125". Don't quote me on this. I think the originals are 1.125", and I think that is 1 inch, and that is because I believe the pans were maybe done in 1 inch. Don't
Okay.
quote me on that.
Okay.
But I believe that's
Righto.
the way it was. Can I stop for a piss?
You mate,
Is that okay?
yeah, you're good, mate. I was going to say we can call it.
I better pull the curtain, mate, if you're online.
We've been going for an hour and 50 as well, man.
have we?
That's crazy.
Oh, mate.
That is crazy. So it's as you can see, it's all glamour here. Like that's cool, man. It's like I say for those of you that aren't able to see like what I'm staring at now, it is cool as hell. Like there's a knucklehead there. Like there's a panhead engine literally just right pretty much behind me here. Like there's how many panheads are in here?
Just the one pan in here.
Just one. All the rest are shovels.
Yeah. So
And obviously a knuckle.
one pan and 3 shovels. One of the shovels is my black one's the generator shovel. So that's a pan head bottom end with a shovel head top end.
Right. Yeah, because that was a popular thing back in the day, wasn't it?
Yeah. So the generator shovels, mine's in 1969, which was I always want. I mean, tell me a fucking cooler year. 1969, you know.
Yeah. No, exactly.
So I always wanted a generator shovel. I was saying to you earlier about an old boy Arthur.
Yeah.
Who I just did a frame for. So he was the first guy I saw on a generator shovel, and that blew my mind. I saw this generator shovel, and I was like, that then became my dream mower. I saw it and I was like, I need a generator shovel. Like that's my end game is to get a generator shovel. So I always wanted to get one, but they only made the generator shovels from 66 to 69. So you don't. I mean, a little bit more now, but there aren't a huge amount of them.
No.
They only made them for 3 years,
Yeah.
obviously.
It's kind of like the unicorn, like the fucking unicorn, isn't it? Like the rare.
Yeah, then they're not as rare as say a knucklehead, which they made for a longer period, but obviously they're a lot older now. But it was just always, I don't know, after hearing, because Arthur was a stroker as well, and I remember we was out in Leeds and we went through the tunnels in Leeds, and then just that long stroke and just that, but I fucking loved it. I fell in love with it straight away. But he blew the engine up, and the frame I'd just done for him, he's had the engine all rebuilt now and stuff, finally. I think he's had it done for a little while, but he's now finally building the bike up again. So the frame I just did for him was for that engine to go in. So it was like, it was nice. Like when he came in, I was like,
full circle.
Yeah, I was like, fuck, man. I was like, the bike that made me fall in love with generator shovels is, I've now got to have a piece in doing the frame for that engine to go in and stuff. So that's really cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, really nice.
That is cool.
So yeah, I don't know. There's just something about the generator shovel.
See, like for me, like I like an iron head.
Yeah, I think they're pretty. They're very pretty.
They're pretty looking. Obviously, I've interviewed a few people that have been like, and obviously listened to a few podcasts. Everyone said the iron head is the engine you learn to cut your teeth on. Like you learn how to actually keep a Harley on the road, but I think like to the eye. See, I like a sport. I like a Sportster engine.
Yeah,
I like the compactability of it.
Yeah.
Especially when you cut the bottom, the time inside.
Trim the case
and you make it look a bit more. I think it's cool, and they take all the stupid plate off. Where I like a Sportster.
There's a place where like the Evo engine it's a great fucking engine.
Yeah.
Ironheads, I love the look.
Yeah.
Especially the XLCH. I had an XLCH and I fucking loved it, and I hated it.
Yeah.
I did it last week of July on it, and the bike was faultless. It was amazing the whole time, and I was having a great time on it. I got back and I realised there was basically hardly any oil in it. I think it was the valve seals that I had to redo on that, and then I think I had to rebore it. And every other week there was something wrong with that fucking bike after that. I'd never known anything like it, and it got to a point where I hated it. I hated the bike because I could go for a ride or two and then it was an issue. And then I'd go for a ride or two and then there was an issue. I spent more time fixing that bike than I did riding it. And I hated that. It just sapped everything out. And I loved the bike to look at. I loved it when it was riding.
Yeah.
But the riding of it and it running and riding properly was so minimal that it just
comes a time where it's
it was just a pain in my arse then. Do you know what I mean? It fucking hyperextended my knee because the fucking kicker gearing kept slipping on it. I had to replace all that. It was just one thing after another.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because I loved the bike and I really enjoyed riding it when it was working.
Yeah.
But I'd never have another.
No, to be fair, I think the people I've had on the podcast before and heard other people like it. You obviously they're obviously affordable, aren't they? Compared to
they're not now.
No,
they're
but
fucking expensive.
Yeah, because
now,
all of a
aren't
sudden they've got back into the trend.
Yeah,
because
right.
I think looking at the engine wise, like I don't know, maybe it's not being so knowledged on how it's like the top end looks a bit like a shovel, but it's got a bit of a panhead feel about it.
Yeah, they definitely
like
have the shovel look.
It's got this, and that's kind of like what I liked about it, and then it's got this much more compact bottom end. Like, because I like a short, I like a short, skinny wheelbase bike. That's kind of like why, for me, I always liked about Larry's bikes.
Yeah,
I'm not necessarily a massive fan of springers, but however, I've noticed as I've got older, like whether it be because they are so popular, like, there is something.
Yeah,
really
I love springers.
Yeah, I mean, it's growing on me. I'm like,
again, like when I was doing when I was building the J, I was adamant I'd got my dream motor.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm going to build this bike with everything that I want on it.
Yeah.
I'm not cutting any corners here. I want all the nice stuff that, like, so the I-beam springers for me, I had a massive thing for them. There was like a dream set of forks for me to have a set of I-beam springers.
I-beam is a company that make them?
No, so that's
because the ones on the prawn look more of a genuine.
Right. So this is these are your later set like springers.
Yeah.
I can't remember the exact model names of them. I think they call these a VL.
Right. Okay.
So if you look, obviously these have got like the cast rear legs and a bit more solid. If you look at these are an I-beam shape.
Right. Okay.
So that's where the name I-beam comes from.
Right.
These are like the earlier style.
Yeah.
And that's where as soon as I saw a set of these, I fell in love with them.
See, I prefer the look of the.
Yeah.
But again, they're more pop. There's more of them.
Yes, that's right.
There's obviously that's why I've seen them more.
Yeah, that's right. Then what you will generally see on most bikes,
Yeah.
is this style. Whereas like the VL, the I-beams, when I first saw them, I was like, I've got to have a set of those on the bike when I build that.
They look a bit more flexible though.
So believe it or not, I think the only real difference in these is the rear legs.
Yeah. The fronts look the same. I was going to say the fronts do look.
Yeah, so the only real difference is the rear legs. Now, the springs look exactly the same. Those fuckers, have you seen the video where I can bounce that? If I start,
Well,
I can bounce that like nearly a foot off the floor.
Someone shared it.
Right.
On some random page and it's clearly you bouncing the bike and I'm sure that's Lloyd out of last week of July because obviously this guy's obviously shared your video and he's got like thousands of views on it and I'm like that doesn't say anything about last week of July or Lloyd. I'm like that's
the usual thing,
and I'm like and I literally comment and someone had acknowledged it because obviously I tagged last week of July in and I'm like that's Lloyd and I'm like I thought it was because you're bouncing it in this car park and it's like
literally bounce. This is solid as fuck. That one I can barely bounce them. They're really stiff. Yeah, those ones I had to make these toppers to try and put a bit more preload, a bit more time in them to try and stiffen them up.
Won't do it.
Still really soft. But the difference in them is fucking night and day. Like one's really hard and one's really soft.
Right. So you think the back tubes are flexing on it? Is what's making it bounce?
I guess it's the thing is, like I'm assuming like springs like these are handmade and that is it the heat treatment that sets the tension in them or something like that?
What do they call it? Cinch them. They get cinched.
It's something like
and they get put in a powder, don't they?
Right. And I'm guessing that's what. If that's not the same exactly all the time, does that set your different tensions and your springs? I don't know.
Who knows?
I'm not a spring maker. No. I'm just guessing it. And I'm guessing that those springs are a lot softer than those ones. I wouldn't be surprised if I swap those springs around.
It'd probably do the same thing.
It'd be the other way around. Do you know what I mean? I don't know is the honest answer, but it just seems bizarre that one's really soft and one's really hard.
No, that's fair enough, isn't it? Yeah, but that is so where can people want to get hold of you for builds? What are the best way to? or anything in
For
particular?
builds, obviously, to see anything that I do and stuff like that, Instagram's the better place. What's my name on that?
Keep It Country.
Keep It Country UK on Instagram. And any regards of builds, I have a website, builtbyloyd.co.uk. Go on there. I always say this to people before reaching out and asking me prices and so on. So there's quite a lot of information on my website. So have a read of that. And then there's my email address on there and stuff. And then have a read of that. And then if you still have any more questions or you want to talk about availability or any ideas or your budget, anything like that, drop me an email, get in touch via that. It's all on the website. That's the easiest way to go about it, really.
That's it, isn't it? It's obviously, again, like, do a bit of research. Like, don't be coming to Lloyd asking him to build, like, you want him to build you a 300 rear wheel, chromed out, galore, fucking American.
No, have an idea as to what you want, and have a look as to what I kind of do. At the same time, don't think I'm gonna be able to build you your dream bike for £6,000.
No,
because it's going to cost you that for your donor.
Yeah, exactly.
So just you have to be realistic with these things. They are, and becoming. Well, I suppose the market's on its arse at the moment. But, they are an expensive hobby.
They are,
and these just have to pay. It just have to pay for living.
Exactly.
People have to be realistic. They're the easiest thing to do. There's prices on there to give people a rough idea, but I generally can work to people's budgets. Do you know what I mean? Within reason.
Yeah.
Have a read on there, and just get in touch. But just be prepared. Sometimes, obviously, when I tell people, I have a list of 3 bikes after these 2 to do yet.
Yep.
Possibly more. Sometimes you do have to be prepared to wait. And I know it's not easy when you've got fucking cash burning a hole in your pocket or you've got big dreams, but some things are worth waiting for.
No, well, absolutely, isn't it? Absolutely, and that's what's so cool. It's like, kind of we said earlier, like if you walk into a studio and they can do your full day sitting in the same day, you're asking questions. It's like Lloyd has a waiting list because he's good at what he does.
I like to think there's a reason why. I mean, it's me on my own as well.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Sometimes, like when I did the long bike, my dad gave me a hand with that because that was, like I say, a normal bike takes me 3 to 4 months. I spent 9 months solid 4 days a week on that bike with the help of my dad. But this is just me fucking working away in here and trying to stay alive. Do you know what I mean? As well, I'm not. Yeah. This isn't slave labor shit.
No, exactly. And that's like how I am with tattooing. Like I'm in a position where I don't have to pay the bills off of it, so I turn away work. I don't do colour, so I say I can't do it.
Yeah, right.
Like it's not. I can't do it. I'm not going to disrespect your skin by just jamming something in it, and it's. I see it. It's just knowing like, it's incredible. And again, like any shows, people come and see some of your bikes. Like, have you got any stuff lined up for next year?
I haven't at the moment. I imagine next year is I'm probably going to have a quieter year. Like I say, previous shows after, like the 101, for the past few years, I've had a lot of bikes in there.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going to be pushing myself to building as many bikes now.
Okay.
I say that.
Yeah.
I say that every year, I think, to be fair. I told myself I'm going to slow down. But no, I mean, obviously these 2, hopefully will be done in after Christmas. These 2 should be, I'll put some stuff on the internet for people to have a look at these, the knuckle and the shovel builds. And then the next, we've got John's panning, possibly an ironhead build for Zach.
Oh, yes, nice.
I've got some work on an Evo to do and then maybe a couple of Sportsters to do.
Nice.
Having said that, yeah, so maybe I will end up doing another fucking season.
Yeah, that's it. I was going to say, it already sounds. That sounds busy, man. That sounds. I mean, and I'm going fucking hell. I ain't even finished one.
Yeah, so yeah, I say I'm slowing down, but I don't. We'll see. I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to be doing next year yet. Trying to slow stuff down. It's like I mentioned to you previously. I don't drink anymore.
No.
So a big draw to a lot of the shows and stuff was the party boy shit.
Yeah.
And that doesn't have that draw anymore. Let's say. So
no, exactly.
We'll see.
No, well, it's been an honour to have you on, and this is so cool. It's just to get an insight into your world. Obviously, we've got a little video that will be going on YouTube once I've learned how to edit a bit better, and hopefully some people have got a little bit more of an insight into the world of Lloyd.
Yeah. I think I've probably just talked shit about.
No, mate, it's good. I've gone for 2 hours and 5 minutes. It's been ticking away at,
wow.
which is.
Yeah.
I said, didn't I?
I'm not sure I've said anything of any use in that time, but
it's been cool. Of course you have, man. It's like getting, because obviously, like behind all these builds, there is also a person. You know what I mean? And that was like,
and I think that's the interesting thing about podcasts, isn't it? I did say this on Ollie's. Like if you want to see the stuff I build, well, you can look on my Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Which is probably why nobody will listen to this, because they're not interested in that.
No, but the thing is like the people that do that, like it's appreciated. It's appreciated when people do listen. And I mean, we've had 6 people tuned in continuously for well over an hour. So the fact that they've sat here and listened live, and people do listen. Like I'll get comments a few months later saying, "Oh, great podcast from something I did." It's
well, if anybody's made it all the way to the end here, thank you.
Thank you very much, and thank you very much for having me, mate. Honestly, it's been great, and I'll hit the old end stream button on here, and